Welcome back to another Crowd Control. Ryan and I are here to talk to you about all the things that are happening in crowdfunding for board games. We've got a lot that are coming up.
Yeah, big week this week.
It is a very big week this week. Stay tuned for Tuesday on our channel because we're probably going to have lots of videos.
Yeah, and even beyond our videos, there are just so many launching, and we're here to talk about 4 of them, plus, of course, the little special guest today.
Yes. The first one we want to talk about, we haven't had our hands on. It's probably going to be a big deal. This is from CMON. It's called The Dead Keep. This is on GameFound this week. If you like things like Massive Darkness, if you like things like Zombicide, this is going to be up your alley. I have never been a long-term Zombicide fan.
You're getting there.
I am getting there. I like Marvel Zombies quite a bit. I like Massive Darkness 2 quite a bit. And as you may know, I love Death May Die. This is from the designers of Zombicide and Massive Darkness, and it's specifically more of a campaign dungeon dive. I don't think this is going to have like one-off scenarios.
No, it doesn't seem like it.
Which I feel like Massive Darkness, while it has a campaign, it actually shines more or Massive Darkness 2 as a scenario one-off.
Oh, for sure, and that's how it was designed. Like there's scenarios, but there's no like real narrative tissue connecting all of them. And Zombicide's the same way. So for me, this fixes a lot of the issues I had with those games. Not that they're bad games at all, but I've always wanted the narrative to continue. Yeah. Even to the point, like even in Marvel Zombies, I'm like, what's the story happening between all these different scenarios?
I would love a narrative pulling it together, and that's what this does. It isn't set in the Massive Darkness universe or anything like that, but the components are going to look very familiar if you've played any of those games. The artwork, the artist's name is escaping me right now.
Paul Bonner.
Paul Bonner.
Yeah.
But the artwork
famous fantasy artist.
Is really cool. Traditionally not my kind of art. I like more of a cartoony look. I like the Massive Darkness look. But the characters are very sort of caricature-esque, yet also still very classic fantasy art.
This feels like it could have been a Lord of the Rings artist. Like it feels like he could have illustrated Lord of the Rings. I really like the look.
It looks really cool. I'm looking forward to giving this a try.
All right, the next one for me is called Reign of Hades. This is from Richard Amon. This is the guy that has worked on so many great Euro games that I have loved, especially for Mind Clash. Tricarion he worked on, the Perseverance Castaway Chronicles games. He is a very heavy Euro designer, but he's teaming up with another guy who's the name I'm not going to try to pronounce. I'm not as familiar with, but they're doing a cooperative story game, adventure game here, which has, it is interesting. It has a lot of the trappings you'd expect. We're seeing a lot of these games actually. These big adventure games where you're going through the story, you're playing a tactical game, you're rolling a ton of dice, you're gaining a lot of experience, leveling up your character, gaining equipment, all the stuff that you'd expect. But this is done with a very almost heavy Euro game flair. A lot of mitigation, a lot of ways to plan and set yourself up for success. And it's got an interesting premise here. You're playing in 2 teams, and it's a cooperative game, so both teams are working together to achieve the goal of the scenario. So they say you can play solo and play both teams. You can play great for 2 players because you can have 1 player for each team, or you could have 4 players and have 2 players on each team. But everything you're doing is working together using these Euro mechanics to explore this story. And also they mentioned setting yourself up, like being able to plan ahead, and you're doing actions with your team that they're helping the other team, especially with the way the dice are being rolled and used. I mean, we haven't played this one yet, and we haven't even seen the full campaign page because it's launching, like, I think right now, if you're watching this video. But I love the idea of taking a genre of game like that's very narrative-driven, very exploration-driven, but then putting very Euro-y mechanics on that, because I am a Euro player through and through.
And it sounds like they're emphasizing the co-op. Even though all these types of games are traditionally co-op, it seems like the design is going to involve a little bit more emphasis on, I mean, the fact that you're split into teams to begin with makes it interesting, and I'm assuming there's going to be some design space where they explore that.
For sure, and I didn't even talk about the theme, Reign of Hades. I mean, this is like you are Greek gods, which is, again, another theme that's very appealing to me. You've kind of lost your divinity, and you have to gain it back. So you play as like Zeus and Athena. There's a wide range of characters you can choose from, and of course you're battling famous Greek monsters like the Minotaur, the Cyclops, all that stuff as you're going through this adventure, trying to gain your power back. back, which that's a cool theme for me too. So all this together in one package makes it a big hit.
Yeah, and we haven't played it like Ryan said, but Jeremy Howard has, and in fact, he's going to have some content up on the channel this week as well.
All right, we're going to come back to talk about a couple games that we did get our hands on, but before we do, we'd have a word from our special guest, Heather, aka the Board Game Mama.
Hey everyone, it's Board Gaming Mama, and I wanted to share with you my Kickstarter story about a game in particular that I was really looking forward to getting in the mail, and it actually came today. So as soon as AEG released Let's Go to Japan by Josh Wood, I was so excited about it because, little known mama fact, I lived in Japan for 5 years. My dad was Air Force, I was raised a military brat, and Japan, I think, was one of the coolest experiences I ever got to have. We toured Japan, we got to experience the different festivals, the cherry blossoms, ate all kinds of different food, the tea ceremonies. I mean, all the shrines and the temples and the things that you get to explore in Japan are so cool. And that game gave me the exact same flashbacks. There's so many cool little tidbits and Easter eggs they put in there, and that's exactly why I wanted to back it. But then on top of that, they had so many fun Kickstarter exclusives, and I think that's a really great thing about Kickstarter is that there you get the opportunity to take advantage of exclusive things that the company might provide for the upcoming game that you might not be able to get in a retail store. Some of them may come out eventually, or you might be able to add them on later, but a lot of them are completely exclusive. And like, for instance, this game was actually wrapped in this cloth. It's the furoshiki cloth in Japan, which is how they wrap presents. And this is a custom made one in the cloth of Let's Go to Japan. And I also got these amazing ceramic token bowls to put all my goodies in. And they're shaped like the little ceramic bowls that they eat food in Japan. So little things like that I think are so cool and make Kickstarter just a really cool place to back things. So I enjoy my experience, and I hope you do too.
Thanks for sharing, Board Game Mama. I love that name, by the way. I just want to say Board Game Mama all day long. We have two more to talk about. These we have played. They have been on this table.
This very table.
The first one is Tiny Epic Game of Thrones. This is another probably giant campaign this week from Tiny Epic.
This is going to be huge.
It's their first IP-based Tiny Epic. This is a troops on the map sort of game that does a lot of the things that you'd expect from a troops on the map game, but again, in classic fashion, in a sort of streamlined fashion. Ryan and I have actually played it. We do have content up on the channel, so I won't spend much time more talking about it here. But definitely check that out and check out their campaign.
And this was definitely one that can't be missed because I think this is probably going to be one of the biggest campaigns. All of their campaigns do really well.
Yeah, they got a lot of fans.
Game of Thrones is hugely popular.
And then there's those fans.
And then there's those fans. So I expect great things from that one. And then the other one we did get a chance to play. I got to play this actually at PAX.
A while ago.
This is called River Valley Glassworks. And this is from Allplay. This is a bit of a departure, I think, from what they've done in the past, where a lot of their Kickstarters are like small box, little games, and they'll do the sets, whatever. This is like a full-on game. It feels Azul weight. In fact,
it's
Azul weight. Like, it feels a little bit like Azul in some ways. That puzzle of like taking those gems and trying to like score them in unique ways.
It is Azul-like. This is from a team including Ben Pinchback, Matt Riddle. I can't remember the other designer's name right now, so we have it here at the bottom of the screen. But yeah, it is a very Azul-like game. You're drafting glass out of this river and adding it to your board. And the scoring is fairly straightforward. You're just sort of scoring rows across and column, your tallest
column and your farthest row. But the strategy of taking the gems is very difficult because just like in Azul, you can find yourself in situations where you're taking more than you can store, and then you're just scoring a ton of negative points too.
Yeah,
so you have to try to balance that.
You do have to be careful about balancing that. But there's more content on that as well. Emily and I did a preview for it, so check that out as well on the channel.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun to play. I think this is one that's going to do fairly well just based on the way it looks alone. We didn't even mention the anthropomorphic animals or the cute artwork that comes with the game.
It's Andrew Bosley
like
artwork.
all the gems are really finely crafted. And I don't know if this was a joke. They teased the idea that they wanted to do actual glass chips, which I think would be hilarious.
May have been a joke.
Probably a joke, but I want it. I want it.
Do not hold them to that. Yeah, so if you've been dreaming of something like Azul and the look of Everdell smashed up like they had a baby, River Valley Glassworks might be it.
Yeah.
But that's all we have this week on Crowd Control.
Yeah.
If you have any questions or if you have any other campaigns that we missed and you want us to talk about them, get down in the comments and let us know. Until next time, make sure everyone has fun at the table, and we'll see you then.